I've always said, and my friend hates when I say this, but I always feel like there should be a Hall of Fame and there should be a Hall of really good.
Hey, I thought it was all over.
Nope. They roll coverage.
Like,
you know what?
Or like a ring of honor for like everybody, or like a nation, an NFL ring of honor where you put people in there that are like, man, you're really good. Like Andrew Luck, you're right there, but
what if like the criteria was like you had to make at least 3 or 4 Pro Bowls? That would be really cool. So like that's below Hall of Fame status, but at least you were one of the better players in the league more than once. That to me would be really good. So like, can Baker get there? He's pretty close right now. I think he's actually made the Pro Bowl twice. Trevor Lawrence has made it once. He's only had 3 seasons. So he still has a chance to get to the really good. Because not a lot of guys get to that Hall of Fame.
Exactly. And that's why I always tell people, like, I feel like where you fall matters more than the actual pick. Like, who you fall to. So, like, if Trevor Lawrence fell to the 49ers, we would be talking about 3 straight 49ers Super Bowls. Like,
shoot. I know, man. Like, as much as I love Purdy, damn, yeah.
Yeah, like, yeah. If we had given Caleb Williams to him or C.J. Stroud to Kyle Shanahan, you think we'd be playing to like, oh, Patrick Mahomes is the greatest? They'd be getting mollywopped by another team. But because the worst team in the league gets the best player to try and even it all out, that's just what happens. But I think there could be eventually a point where guys like this, a Trevor Lawrence or somebody like that, I actually, for some reason, thought Trevor Lawrence might eventually end up in a Steelers uniform. But of course, they went with Russell Wilson. But I think there's a lot of them that are in that weird tier of like really good, but not good enough. And there's some people that are going to exceed that tier, but still not get in the. Oh, geez. What I'm about to say hurts.
I'm wondering where Jordan Love is. I don't even know where he is yet. I don't have enough data. I saw some really good stuff, but it's only one season. I don't want them to go pay him 60 mil or 56 mil. I don't. I just said it on Out of Pocket. I said it last night. I love the dude, but it's too much money. Trevor Lawrence was too much money too. He just was.
The thing is, and this is if teams were better prepared to do the contracts, like the Patrick Mahomes contract is going to age very well because by 2030, Patrick Mahomes, 64 million or whatever, is going to be pennies because we're going to be paying quarterbacks almost $100 million. So if you're able to get like a 6, 7, 8-year contract on a quarterback and really stick him wherever you're at, then that would make sense. But they do like these 4-year deals where they're absolutely going to have to go back in the well in 2028 when you got to pay him $85 million. And then you're like, I can't afford to put this team around everybody. So that's why I think the talk now that we've heard is to separate the quarterback salary cap.
Like, I brought that up. I had heard that rumor too. And I brought that up earlier. And, I like it. Or it could be like the bird rights in the NBA where it only cut, like, let's say you pay the guy 70 mil. And I just got to give a shout out to my dad. My dad was asking me, can we offer him a longer deal? I was like, technically, yes. And that would be something I'd be interested in. Why not give him 10 years, 400 mil? And guarantee like 200 or 250. I would do that because then his cap hit in 7 years and you could renegotiate after like 6, but its cap hit wouldn't be as bad. Like that, you know what? They should try to do that. He's only 25 years old. I don't think his agents will go for it because Patrick Mahomes was a rare breed, but I like it. Like, why not do it? But what if, they either counted as their own cap. I think we're going that way with running backs too, because they want to make certain amounts of money and they take so much punishment. And I think on rookie deals, they need to go up a little bit because these guys get used by like year 4 now, and they're lucky to even get a second contract. Like Saquon had to leave the Giants to get a deal, which is kind of asinine for the Giants to let him go, but they wanted Brian Burns, so they did it.
Brian Burns is going to be crazy.
Can you imagine him with Dexter Lawrence and Thibodeau? Nobody's going to want to face that pass rush. Now, they did lose McKinney, but I like Tyler Newman. That defense has a potential to, even if it's not top 10, it's not going to be one you're going to want to face.
It's going to be a top 10 defense. I think they're going to carry that team to like a 7-8 win season. And people are going to be like, how did Daniel Jones win this? And it's not going to be Daniel Jones. It's the defense. It's going to be
I can't say his name, but Okreek, the middle linebacker, he's good too. And they've got Simmons sitting on the back burner. He's not even a starter right now.
Oh, Bobby Okereke.
There we go. Yeah, I couldn't say his last name. I've heard about him so much. I just had butchered his name all the time.
But there's
But
so
no,
many
man, you
of
said
those.
it, like the quarterback thing. I love it. Seriously.
I think that it's going to be either something where they separate it or they just tie it to a percentage of the cap.
Exactly. Like,
Where
what
they-
if it's like you make 75 mil, but only 50 of it counts towards the cap, but the guy actually makes the 75? Instead of the NFL where they always make less than they actually do, unless it's fully guaranteed, because it's always incentive
talking
laden.
about taking the flat thing and then saying we are only devoting 12% of our total cap, whatever that is. So if the cap goes up the next year, it goes up with it. So you go up as the year goes up. So this way I never have to spend more than 12%, and then I can allocate whatever this is.
You know what? They should do that for teachers. Instead of not getting a raise like I did this year, how about we count so much of the school's cap, and then I actually could get a 2% raise? How about that? Let's do that. Because I got a 1% last year and a 0 this year. I took a pay cut last year. 53 people, yeah. What does it average? Like almost 5 mil a player. It's not. It's pretty low.
But you'd be doing it off of over 100. So for each percent, it'd be 2.5. So if you gave them 12%, that'd be only 25.5 million. So yeah, you'd need to give them like almost 20 or more percent of the cap.
Mm-hmm.
Like just flat out, and then just that's it. It goes up with everything.
That's right. It's like the NBA where it's like only so much you can, even though it's a stupid number in the NBA, but they play 82 games. But like Jason Tatum's deal where he's getting like what, 60 mil a year, like, but he can't make more. Like even with incentives, it's only so high, and there's a limit.
Yeah,
that's the thing. That's like, good.
It could be an interesting one. I think we're getting to the point, especially with wide receivers, and I'm expecting that bubble to pop soon. I mean, it's going to keep going up, the cost of wide receivers, but I'm saying that the talent overall, like if we're able to go grab a 4th rounder in Puka, or we're able to go out and get a 7th rounder, whoever it is, and make them work in the NFL, and I still have 1st rounders and all that other stuff that are constantly around, I don't need to pay a guy $30 million. I can go out and get more. So I think we're eventually going to start seeing teams like get a really good wide receiver like a Justin Jefferson, get him to the very end, and then trade him at the beginning of the last year of his contract for whatever it is, say a 1st-round pick or whatever, and then just go back in the draft and try and grab another. I think you're going to get to the point where you just pay a few guys, and then guys are just coming in and out through drafts and everything like that. Like, oh, really great edge rusher? Great. I'll take the 5th overall pick, and I'll go get one in the draft and try and build him.
You know, that one's interesting to me because what I saw was, I'm going to fix my phone angle, but what I saw was the Chiefs got away with it, which is absolutely nuts because it completely validates Mahomes' salary and his status. And the haters can hate, but when you lose Tyreek Hill and you win back-to-back, and yes, he had great coaching, but this last year, with that receiving core to pull that off, and yes, I know they had the number 2 D, but to be able to do that with that receiving core, with Rashee Rice as your number 1 target, and he wasn't like a game breaker, he looks decent, but that's stupid. But then you got other teams like the Tennessee Titans who clearly had buyer's remorse on letting A.J. Brown go. And then they decided to overpay Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins. Really interesting. So you got like the give and take. The Vikings were terrified to lose Justin Jefferson. I don't even know if that one's an overpay. That guy's so stupidly special. I don't even know. Like he looks quarterback. If he gets it going with J.J. McCarthy, like the dude might be quarterback proof if McCarthy isn't even that great because I mean, he pretty much was last year, even with whoever at quarterback. Like that
like
guy's
6 games that had 1,000 yards, or 8 games. That had 1,000 yards.
Like, yeah. He missed what 8.5, 9. How many full games did he play? Like it says 9 when you look at it, but I think he like played like 7, 8, not even 8 full games. He got hurt twice, and he still hit 1,000 yards. He averaged like over 140 yards a game. It was stupid. Even in today's NFL, it was ridiculous.
Exactly, but I think that's coming for wide receivers. We're eventually going to see just a ton of great wide receivers. You know, it's who's got the craziest of crazy wide receivers when they build their trios and everything. But I think the other one that's going to come to fruition as well is quarterbacks. And the reason why I say that is because, like, if I look at it right now, like, okay, for example, my NFC South, yes, we got Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins could have gone anywhere. If Kirk Cousins had gone to, again, the Niners, that they would be a Super Bowl favorite. If he had gone to the Chargers, they'd have been a Super Bowl favorite. The Browns, the Colts, the Jets, for that matter. If Aaron Rodgers wasn't there, I mean, there's some solid places that if he would have gone, they would have been legitimate contenders. Or again, if somehow he ends up taking over Detroit. So I think that there's so many places that could really adjust, especially places like the Seahawks. Like I'm looking right now at the Dove Kleiman thing. He's got the Seahawks winning 5 games. Like Geno
I had
Smith
them
all
at
of a sudden
6
doesn't
only
know
because
how to
I
play
don't
football.
like Geno. I had them at 6 because I don't trust Geno. It was tough, man, because I actually really like the Cardinals. But, like, here's the problem: is they've got a receiving core and they've got pieces on D, but their offensive line sucks. Their running game isn't good, and they're coming off the Pete Carroll thing. Like, I actually see them as the worst team in that division, and I see it as a strong division. Otherwise, if the Cardinals figure it out, otherwise you got a 2-team division with the Rams and the obviously the 49ers. What'd you think of that division?
I think the Rams are going to take a massive step backwards. I think
You think so?
Matthew Stafford is either done or something's going to make him done. I think this is the last year of Stafford, so we're going to have to either look forward to. They don't have Carson Wentz anymore. That was only temporary. So just Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett from Georgia is going to hope and try and take the Rams to the promised land. But I just don't see it. I love McVay. I love what they have, but they lost the pass rush with Aaron Donald. Stafford's a year older. He's constantly getting blasted. Yes, they have Puka, but now Cooper Kupp is 31, I think.
Yeah, it comes down to if you believe in Stafford staying healthy. Kyron Williams was a beast. They did lose Raheem Morris, but they have another defensive lineman who came on strong. But they lost Aaron Donald, so they lost their defensive coordinator. They lost Aaron Donald. They backed up Kyron Williams with Blake Corum from Michigan, which is a solid pick. That's a solid pick. So you might have a 2-headed monster at running back. You got a 2-headed monster at receiver if Kupp can stay healthy. So the offense could be scary, but will the defense be better than average? Because that's what it was last year, and that's after losing Aaron Donald.
Exactly. And one of the things that I saw was interesting. I was listening to 99.9 The Fan with Tim Donnelly, I think, and they were talking about it. They're like, last year, name me a wide receiver that was over the age of 32, which Cooper Kupp will be by the time the season's over, that played at the age of 32, that received over 100 yards. And the only person last year was Adam Thielen. So Cooper Kupp will be joining that, along with Adam Thielen, obviously, in it as well. So there could be, the end of Cooper Kupp. Now, obviously, he's only 31. I'm not saying he's going to fall off the cliff. But history does tell us that once we get to that 31, 32, we start to take a nosedive. So that means Puka's either going to rise to wide receiver 1 or last year was a fluke.
And Kupp only had 2 really amazing seasons, if we're being honest. Yep. He actually only has 2,000-yard I can't talk. He only has 2 1,000-yard seasons in his career. It was just that one when they won the title was just stupid amazing. It was almost 2,000 yards, so he kind of gets glorified. But he only had 1,000-yard season before and another 900 plus. But the last 2 years, he's missed multiple games. So in his 7 seasons, only 2 are really outstanding. So we've seen the dude's ceiling; it's stupid good, but he's missed a lot of games the last couple of years. And I kind of think, like you said, but I think Puka is going to be the number 1 this year. Unless teams find a way to scheme that guy, but he just seemed to find a way to get open.
He's 6'4" or something stupid.
Yeah,
it's going to be hard
super fast, but he's strong. It's like watching Luka Doncic out there, man. He just boom, get on my way. He's just stronger than everybody he goes against.
Yeah, and it's going to be an interesting, again, if you can't generate the pass rush, our team's going to be able to run on you and all this other stuff. So there's a whole dichotomy. Do they now have to force Puka to really be the wide receiver 1 and really try and go, the X and streak down the field and everything like that? And if they can't get that going, and say, for example, Kyron and Blake aren't able to get the run game going because, of course, you're going to stack the box at that point. So,
because they don't have much of tight end, and they don't really have a third receiver. So it comes down to those 2 guys. And if Cooper Kupp's out, Nakua showed he could hold down the fort last year. But I think the biggest thing it comes down to is Stafford. It's kind of like Burrow. Is he healthy? Because if Stafford's healthy, he's still got a big arm and he can sling it. But is he healthy? Is Burrow going to be healthy? It's actually near the same level of concern for me. Stafford's older, so it's like if I was putting a number on my scare level of if they're going to be healthy, it'd probably be a 5 to a 6 for both. So it's enough of a concern where I'm in a fantasy draft, I'm actually thinking about it.
I can't blame you though. At this point though, if you're going for fantasy and everything like that, especially dynasty fantasy, of course I love Burrow and everything like that.
My first year doing dynasty, by the way. I've done redrafts for 25 years, 26. I started when I was 10 with my dad, and we're starting the dynasty league I've never done it. And we're starting an eliminator. We've never done that either. I'm excited. Yeah.
Dude, yeah, I like Burrow, but I'm gonna be honest. I don't think it's to another Super Bowl, regardless of anything. I don't think it ever happens. I think the first year was the fluke.
So you think if he's healthy and
I don't think he's ever going to be healthy long enough to make it happen again. That was his chance.
Okay, let's say he stays healthy, and it's the Bengals and the Chiefs in the AFC Championship game. Do you think the Chiefs beat them again like they did last time? Do you think they overcame that demon? Or do you think that Burrow can actually play him?
I don't. And I'm going to tell you why in 2 words. Steve Spagnuolo. That defensive coordinator that the Chiefs has is ridiculous. The fact that he's staying on with the Chiefs to go for another Super Bowl is the only reason why I give them a shot in hell. Without him, if he would have left and gone somewhere else or just retired, they are absolutely not even going to sniff the Super Bowl. But the fact that he's still on there...
Sorry, I'm going to let you finish.
No, that's it. That's it.
I'm so excited talking football, man.
No, that's it.
I love Andy Reid. My concern with the Chiefs is Kelsey's going to be 35. You lost Snead. We don't know what's going on with Rashid Rice. And as good as Hollywood Brown is, he always misses time. So you're telling me that their number one receiver for parts of the season could be Xavier Worthy. I actually don't know if their receiving core will be better than last year. And I love Pacheco, but he runs violently. So, I'm always concerned about injury, but I do like him. I give them a chance because of Mahomes and that D, but you did lose Snead. That's a big loss. So there's still the odds-on favorite, but I think this is a reason why no one's ever three-peated, because it's hard enough in the freaking NBA to do it. But in the NFL, holy crap, there's a reason no one's ever done it. And as good as Mahomes is, he's going to get more rings. But I think it'll be in a few years. It'll be like the Tom Brady thing, where I think it'll be maybe a year or 2 gap, and then he'll win some more. Or, I'll be wrong and they'll three-peat it and he'll go down as the GOAT, and that'll suck, but, it is what it is.
I will stand right here and take any gentleman's bet against any Chiefs fan. The $1 famous bet. I'll take any single one that the Chiefs don't win the Super Bowl. Because I will penny pinch everybody and get $100,000 off their fan base, I swear.
I know a lot of Chiefs fans on Twitter. I can hook you up.
That's fine. Gladly. I'll take it. Handshake right here. You don't even need my consent. But it's going to be such an interesting one. I think that, of course, Patrick Mahomes is going to go out there and do some just crazy stuff. The Mahomesian things, as we call them now. But again, like you said, Travis Kelce is super aged at this point. I do feel like he does suffer some sort of injury. He was kind of had something nagging towards the end of the season last year. So I just don't think they have it. And I think by the time they try to get it going in week 15 or 16 to try and turn that engine on, and it just sputters and then somebody else goes. I mean, just to think about people on their side of the board. Bengals, Browns, Ravens. Right there, that 3 in the division is hard enough to get through. Colts, Jags, Texans are probably going to be a problem. And then, of course, Jets, Bills. Bills, I feel like, could take a step backwards. I do not see the Jets being this big 12, 14-win juggernaut that everybody sees. I'm sorry. The only reason why I'm a Packers supporter now is because Aaron Rodgers doesn't wear your uniform. I am not a Brett Favre fan. I'm not a Rodgers fan, but, man, I'm a Love fan. And I've always loved your defense.
I hope he doesn't become a dick. I really hope he doesn't become an asshole.
I agree, but you got to keep him in Green Bay then. You can't leave Green Bay. So that's going to be the big thing. But I really want to get to your division because I know you got to go in 20 or so minutes. So your division specific.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm obviously a Carolina Panthers fan. Keep pounding all the way.
What do you think of your team? What do you think of your team, really quick?
3 to 5 wins. Dave McCandless is either him or not. Bryce Young is either him or not. We're going to have the 31st or 32nd ranked pass rush in the league. I wouldn't be surprised if we're dead last in sacks. We probably have the most bombed on secondary in football because why not? And if Bryce Young eclipses 3,500 yards, I'll call it a win. But if it's 3,500 yards and 16 touchdowns, it's a bust. I mean, I was the one last year in my fan base that got dragged by a bunch of people because I was like, bro, this is a 5-win ceiling team. And they were like, oh, no, we're going to win a playoff game. I'm like, I don't know who the hell you guys think is going out on that field. I don't know when I've ever looked out on a football field and been excited to see Laviska Shenault and DJ Chark. I'm sorry. Every time
that's because you didn't give Bryce Young a chance, and that trade sucked because you gave up DJ Moore, your best weapon, and they haven't replaced him yet. As decent as Thielen was and had some games, now Xavier Legette's going to be the number one. Like, I think the best thing that happened is if he can come back. If I'm thinking the right guy, I can't remember if he's the one who tore his ACL or not.
Oh, no, it's Brooks, the running back.
He did. Okay, so he did.
Texas.
So if he comes back from the injury, I thought it was him. If he comes back off that ACL, then your running game could be really strong at the end of last year. And at least your defense was a bend but don't break. But, yeah, I'm sorry, dude. I just had to get your take.
Oh, no, it's going to be an interesting one. I think that David Tepper went against the coaching staff. I'm very on the record about Frank Reich getting basically headhunting guys behind him. They basically went and made him pick guys from outside of his comfort zone and all that other stuff. But now that he's gone and all that stuff is gone, we gave the opposite to Dave Canales. So if an offensive guy, offensive weapons, offensive coach, GM pushing in your way, the quarterback that you said that you can, revitalize because Dave Canales is some quarterback guru, then we'll see it next year. But if it comes out to 4 or 5 wins, I think Dave Canales could also be out the door. I think they could just be like,
for long. They don't let these guys. The NBA does something smart. Some teams do it. They let their guys sit through the first couple mediocre seasons with a new guy, with a new player, if they think the player's it, and they let the coach sit. The Nuggets did that, and then they won an NBA championship. And the Celtics probably underperformed expectations, but they stuck with Mazzola, and then they made some amazing trades. And that's, I think, one of the reasons why they let the dude grow as a coach. You're not going to be the best version of yourself the first season unless you're Jim Harbaugh. But even him in Michigan grew. He was great with the 49ers and Stanford right away, but they let him grow as a coach in Michigan, as annoying as the dude is, and probably a slight cheater, whatever. He's a good coach, and he grew into it at Michigan. You got to let guys develop, and it's not just players. And if they want Bryce Young to succeed, give him some damn weapons, because nobody with that offensive line would succeed. Patrick Mahomes will be running for his damn life with nobody to throw to. So you want him to succeed. He's already undersized. Give him some weapons and a run game to fall back on. That's the reason why Jordan Love was successful last year. I'll segue into the Packer take. That's the reason why Jordan Love was successful, and that's my biggest question mark. Is Josh Jacobs going to be able to do what Aaron Jones did at the end of last season?
I hope so.
I hope so too, but he's been wildly up and down in his career, and we did overpay him a little bit. So he's still young, but he's got a lot of tread. Does he have enough left for a couple of years? We didn't hedge our bets. We drafted a third rounder that I love. And we brought back Dylan, who I don't think has much left. But that's my question mark, because I think people undervalue the running game in the NFL, and it's like you can throw a 3-yard pass all you want, but it helps to have a guy that can take pressure off your quarterback. Even Patrick Mahomes has that.
And see, that's why I feel like quarterbacks need to be paired with a dynamic tight end with whatever they do. George Kittle is perfect for Brock Purdy because Brock Purdy occasionally needs that extra blocker. Kittle fits into that perfectly. He's also a dynamic pass catcher. Travis Kelce is more of that, like, quick, throw up a block and then immediately, jet off to the side, quick catch, and then make something happen after the catch.
And he knows, and they have chemistry. They know where each other are. Exactly. Kittle's starting to get that with Purdy. I think if they keep Purdy and they can keep him protected, that's just going to get better. Even though Kittle's like 30, I think it'll just improve.
I think there could be some interesting things. Like, I think this next offseason is going to be like quarterback Armageddon. Like, I think there could be a lot of quarterbacks out on the ether. There could be a Aaron Rodgers team. There could be a Dak Prescott. There could be Cousins.
Tua.
They decide to go with Michael. Tua. To be honest with my Carolina Panthers, they could be like Bryce is done, a Bryce Young.
And that sucks because, like, unless it's like a Jamarcus Russell situation, you should never. Or Zach Wilson's one of my few others who threw his team under the bus. To me, that shows me who you are, and you're not talented enough or done enough to blame it on your D that held them down to 10 points. How about you do more, even on a windy day? So, no, Zach Wilson, who you can tell just doesn't have it. But otherwise, if you're still unsure, do everything to be sure. Like the Giants, they could have cut and done the cap hit on Daniel Jones, but instead they were like, we're going to draft you a number one receiver. That's something you haven't had probably your whole career. You had a Saquon. It sucked for them. They had to let him go, but they were like, let's get him Malik Neighbors and let's find out, because they paid him the money. So why not find out? So, all right, sorry. NFC North time. What you got?
NFC North time. I have a few simple questions. One, I want to throw out an interesting one to think about when we're at the end, so I'll try and remember them. But regardless, for your division, now obviously we've got some solid teams. You, of course, think the Lions are going to do really well, and of course, we all both think your Packers are going to do really well.
I hope so.
Those other two teams are probably going to do something interesting. Who do you think out of those two really ascends? Do you think there could be a situation where your division specifically has 3 people in the playoffs from it? And if so, who would that team be?
I do. I don't believe in JJ, so I got to see him stay healthy.
Thank you. I heard that he's a one read.
There's a chance he could exceed expectations. Everything I've heard has been good, and he's got the weapons. Like you've got Jordan Addison. If Hawkinson comes back off that ACL, it'll probably be halfway through the season. But if he comes back and strong, Hawkinson's a top at least 7 tight end, probably 5 if healthy. He's
if healthy.
If healthy. If not healthy, that sucks.
Isn't Addison still dealing with that legal stuff though?
Yeah, I don't even know what's going on with that. So that's
I thought it was a DUI and something else.
He fell asleep. I don't know if that's a suspension-worthy kind of thing. Like the Rasheed Rice one, I think he's getting suspended. But even though the NFL loves the Chiefs, I still think Rasheed Rice will get suspended. That one was bad. But the Jordan Addison, I don't know if that'll be a suspension unless the team suspends him. I don't know. I heard he fell asleep at the wheel.
I see one from last year.
Oh, that is the second one. You're right. Maybe he does miss a few games. But you still have Justin Jefferson, and you brought in Aaron Jones if he can be healthy. That's a damn good supporting cast. Wow. He's got all the room to succeed. I have the Bears going 9-8 and being a wild card.
Yeah.
I actually had them stealing the wild card over the Cowboys, who lost a lot this offseason.
I agree. I don't think they do anything, and that's why I think Dak gets tested in the market.
Yeah, they lost so much. They lost a starting center. They lost their left tackle. They lost their running back. And you replaced him with nothing. Like Zeke isn't it. And I don't think Rico Dowdle or Royce Freeman are it, or Vaughn. He's too small. Zeke's too old. You lost your third receiver. You lost your third receiver and your second receiver. I don't know if he still has it. So you do have a receiver and a tight end and Dak on offense, but that's pretty much it. They had a couple of good draft picks.
But you don't really have Dak because you guys are messing with his head with this whole contract thing, and now CD is holding out.
Exactly.
So now that all you have is a tight end.
They lost. Gilmore hasn't signed anywhere. He was the best cover corner. They lost Dorrance Armstrong, one of their best sack artists. He had like 8 sacks last year. That's another important piece. And they lost one of their starting defensive tackles. They lost a bunch of starters and a bunch of depth, and they didn't have a lot of draft picks to replace them. So they went down. Where the rest of the NFC, the Packers, if they're consistent, will probably be a little better, and they already beat them in the playoffs. The Bears freaking not only got Caleb, but they got Roma Dunze, and they got Keenan Allen to pair with DJ Moore and Cole Kmet, and then they didn't hedge their bets, and they went out and got offensive line help. Like, the Bears, there's going to be growing pains with a rookie quarterback, but they gave him all the tools to succeed.
And not just that, but if he doesn't come out there and break the rookie touchdown record with those weapons, that's crazy. Because, their running back, I forgot about.
DeAndre Swift. Mm-hmm. I have a question mark on that one.
They still have Montez Sweat.
I'm curious about their offensive line and the running game, because Swift is decent, but he's not a game breaker. So I'm curious if he'll take pressure off of, like, this is me thinking of as Packers fan, but also just realistic. Like the Packers, I'm worried about their consistency on offense and if the defense is actually going to take a step forward, because it was pretty mediocre for parts of last year, at least the run D. And we did a bunch of draft picks, but we do that every year. So will it be better? But for the Bears, will the running game take pressure off of Caleb, and will he not is he going to be like Kyler Murray where he holds, and like CJ Stroud even at times, where he holds the ball a long time and takes too many hits? That's my concern.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see it becoming a little bit of an off the field thing too. People have made so much, hullabaloo about his nails and all this other stuff. But if he comes out there and throws 35 touchdowns his rookie year,
oh my gosh,
no offense, everybody can,
pretty much,
yeah, get out of here.
The only question mark I'd have is if Keenan Allen goes down, the weaponry looks a lot less special with a rookie. You never know how that's going to pan out. Like, Adunze looks great, but so did JSN last year, and he wasn't like that amazing. Sometimes it actually takes receivers a minute to develop. So, Keenan Allen is often injured, and he's 32. So there are some scenarios where it doesn't go great, but the promise looks pretty special. So I had the Vikings, I think, at 6-11, I think, and the Bears at 9-8. So I had the Cowboys right outside the playoffs at 9-8, which is probably low, but whatever. And I had the Bears as a wild card and the Packers. So I had the Bears as the 7 seed, the Packers as the 5, right behind the 4 division winners. And I had the Lions as the number 1 seed in the NFC, 12-5.
I had San Fran 12-5 as well. I could see it happening, though. But I could also see a situation, if that happens, where the Vikings end up with a top 3 or 5 pick, end up with Quinn Ewers next year, and Quinn Ewers gets access to Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson, and that could be a problem for that division.
The NFC North, if JJ can't figure it out, you got it tailor-made for a quarterback if you can find that dude. So if JJ isn't it, they've got a situation. The NFC North could end up replacing the AFC North as the best division of football if the Bears and Vikings can figure out their quarterback spots. Because even though I've got questions about Goff, he has gone to a Super Bowl and he just got them to a conference championship, and that roster is loaded. So, and they just doubled down on him. And they've doubled down on Montgomery. They just doubled down on St. Brown. They are locked and loaded. That defensive line is talent. They upgraded their secondary. Really, there's not a lot of roster spots on that roster that are a question mark outside of second receiver. That's about it.
That's where I think you could see a situation where next year the Vikings know it's not J.J. McCarthy. They shop him, blah, blah, blah. And then you get, of course, the Michigan man returning home and trade him to the Lions for some BS pick just to get him out of there. You bring him home, let him be a backup to Goff. And hey, maybe by the time Goff is 34, this guy's ready to take over.
That would be really interesting. I could actually see. It's just like the Falcons. Why did you draft Penix if you signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $180 million deal or whatever it was?
I think
you don't believe in Cousins?
I think it could be a big brain play. And that big brain play is get Kirk out there, show people that he can do it with the weapons, and not only that these weapons can work. You can basically prove that you shouldn't get rid of Kyle Pitts or whatever. Because if Kirk Cousins can make them good, then if Michael Penix is the guy, then he'll be able to make them good. So I think they go with Kirk Cousins for a little bit, and if something happens, somebody goes down on a big team, hey, you want to kick us first? Hey, you want to make a run at the playoffs? Lions, Jared Goff went down. Man, we'll send you Kirk Cousins for your first round pick. Okay,
it sucks because in the NFL, when you trade those guys, the dead cap hits with the Broncos are so stupid high. That's why I think the quarterback thing is going to be interesting, because I think unless teams are sure, they're going to stop just dumping money on these guys, because the Broncos just ate almost $90 million in dead cap money, and they weren't the first team to do it. David Garoppolo,
took the biggest ever.
Yeah, they cut Garoppolo. The Giants thought about cutting Daniel Jones. There were other guys that got cut and they just ate a big dead cap hit, or the Stephon Diggs thing. I think some teams are going to be a little more careful about their money unless they're just over barrel like my Packers are, where they're going to have to pay him. Unfortunately, they drafted him and they developed him for 3 years, and then he threw 32 TDs his first season and won a playoff game. What are you going to do? Not pay him? That's not even an option.
Yeah,
it's
so this way, they 65 next year. Next year, you won't have to pay really anybody on your team.
That's why I'd rather just do it now before this even goes up. It sucks to pay him 56 or 57 mil a year. I'm hearing 5 for 280 or 5 for 300, but you know what? At this freaking point, I can't believe I'm saying this. I'd rather just get this done before it goes up more. Seriously, because Tua goes and gets freaking paid if the Dolphins actually do it, which I'm not sure if they're gonna. But if they go pay him 57, guess what? The price just went up. Just do it. Just get it done.
That's why I don't
understand. At like 48. That's what I wanted him at, but it's gone up.
But that's why I don't understand. Like, okay, for example, my Carolina Panthers, we didn't want to pay Brian Burns, but we had the opportunity to pay him after he had his big year, 2021.
Yeah, why didn't you pay him? Who else are you paying the money to? Like,
I don't understand it. But that's my point.
Why are bad teams letting good players go? That's stupid.
I agree, but that's like, because they're not thinking long term. Like if I was a GM right now, like let's say for example I was your GM, I would have paid guys early. Like Luke Musgrave, you're 3 years in and you're a pretty decent tight end. Great, I'm going to give you a 5-year deal and just be done with it. Here you go. I don't have to deal with it. So this way, if you're 2 years in and all of a sudden you have a great year, great, you're really underpaid, and by the time you get done with that contract, your ass is out of here. I got 5 minutes.
I got to bounce right before 9. And I had a blast, dude. I'm sorry. When I get excited, I interrupt. But I've had a blast with you, dude. I would love to come back on.
Absolutely. I'm down to talk whenever.
And I'd love to have you on the show. I'm working on my schedule. And the sucky thing is I lined up too many guests. But I have 2 shows. But I would love to have you on. If you do pick 'em, my co-host Bill would love talking with you. So would Matt. I have 2 shows. So, yeah. We do a pick 'em every week once the season starts. So, okay. Dang, I lost my take. I'm trying to remember it. The Packers just did it with Kenny Clark, where they gave him more money this year because Love is extension unless they rip it up or give him a big bonus. It won't kick in this year. It'll kick in next year. So we did it with one guy, and we really did it with McKinney and Jacobs, where we gave them a lot of money this year, and it'll be, especially for Jacobs, it'll actually be a little bit less next year. It'll go up the last year of the deal, but we give him a big signing bonus. But we spent a bunch of money on these guys now, and we locked up like Rashawn Gary before Love's extension came in. The Texans were even more forward-thinking with getting Stephon Diggs. It was only for a year, but they wanted to see if he still has the talent and if he wasn't going to be a disgruntled jerk. I think he was just tired of losing in Buffalo in the playoffs, but there's some attitude things too. But the Texans also went out and got Daniel Hunter. They traded for Joe Mixon. They signed a guy on defense too, another guy, I think a defensive tackle. So they went and spent a bunch of money while CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, their 2 pillars, are only on the second year of those rookie deals. It was so forward thinking and a second year coach. That team is the team to watch if in the AFC.
And that's going to be the thing. All these teams soon need to pay their guys. Like my parents.
And you let him go. You let McCaffrey go. It was like, was that a good deal? Like,
I think
I know
this 2023 Carolina Panthers draft class, there's not going to be but maybe one person still on this roster in 2025.
I hope you're wrong about Xavier Legette and Brooks for your sake, because I liked Brooks. I'm torn on Legette, but I think he has a chance. But yeah, I hope you're not. I hope you're wrong on that, but for your sake. But dude, I had so much fun. Any final quick questions?
No, buddy. I just appreciate you coming on. And yeah, bro, if you ever want to come on, or you ever want me to come on, just so you know, I work from home. I help take care of my wife. My wife has a pancreatic disease. I'm also an online student, so I do my online MBA stuff from here, and then I just do random shit around my house.
What do you do?
I'm doing MBA in finance.
Very cool, dude. Nice.
Yeah.
Man, I had a blast, dude. Seriously.
Absolutely, man. I live over here in Colorado, so I'm a little bit behind on the time-wise, but at the same time, like I said, I'm always available. I'm the kind of the same thing, too. I'm booking interviews and everything like that, just trying to get people on, especially from different teams. I'm tired of just talking to Panthers fans. They all think that, we're all going to be 11-win teams, and everybody's going to win a Super Bowl, and
I'm trying to look it up with the Packers too. I'm like, so one of my friends is like 14-3, and I'm like, dude, no, our defense is way too young. We're the youngest roster in the NFL again. There's going to be growing pains, and we need to accept that. There was massive growing pains last year. We were 3-6, and there was a point early on. I was like, I don't know if Jordan Love is it. I still want to see more. Like, you gotta wait and be patient with your team. And honestly, as a podcaster too, I try to be unbiased. So it's hard at times because you get excited, but